What is up, you guys? Welcome to the Game Changer Podcast. I am NateFNGreat, and I'm being joined here by the always lovely, very charismatic, and the ever so spectacular VicTori Belle. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing pretty good for the most part. So, guys, we just went and we saw Medieval Times for the first time. Well, it's my first time going to it. I know that, VicTori Belle, you mentioned that it was the first time in a while that you've actually been to one of these events, and it's convenient for you because it's not too far from where you live, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Medieval Times is basically in our backyard here in the Schaumburg area, so it's a popular event that when you were a kid you used to go all the time, and it did change the show because when I was a kid and I went, it was a king. And I remember it was a huge deal across the nation when all Medieval Times decided they just want a king instead. And so they changed the show around, and this was the first time I got to see the new show.
Yeah, so I will say this, that even with the changes that, I'm not too fully aware of, I guess I should have gotten a chance to look at some of the research, like, okay, what's changed since, maybe 2009 or 1990 or whatever, however long it's been. But honestly, she mentioned that, as a kid, definitely excited to do this. For me, I felt like a kid just going into a candy store. I literally just went in and I was just like, ooh, ah, and to be honest, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, geez, I'm going to be like 60 and I'll still want to go to see that again. Doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, as soon as we walked in, we got a photograph where there was a sword in the stone. Then we kind of went into the main lobby area. They had a couple of nice taverns, aka bars, waiting for us. They had a couple of random, gift shops, including a absolutely spectacular display of a lot of the swords and the shields. And oh my gosh, just getting a chance to hold the Master Sword was just one of those things where I'm like, I'm not even a fan of Link, but just having that in your hand is just one of those things where you're just like, ooh, I feel the power. I feel like I could take on Ganondorf right now when I get the chance to. And honestly, I will say this, that for a shield and sword combo was like $200. And I remember saying to Tori, I literally said to her, man, that's like cheaper than most of the belts that I've been spending my money on, which says a lot from a wrestling fan, but it's still one of those things where it's like, man, still $200, but at the same time, that's a really good deal for that kind of deal. They had some nice display areas. One thing that we didn't get a chance to do was like this dungeon of, I think it was like torture apparatuses and stuff like that. We didn't get a chance to do that, so that was one of the things that I kind of regretted about this deal. But still, it was one of those things where, even if we took that away, everything else that was around, showing a lot of, the weapons that were going to be used during the events, it's just really cool to kind of look at them and think, wow, this is going to be crazy. And just seeing them, being utilized during the event, it was another situation where it's like, okay, so we do remember this. How are they going to? Oh, they're going to use it like that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. No, it was a fun time. We got to see a lot of really cool things.
So, one thing that I kind of selfishly did do was that I got the chance to be knighted by the Queen, and I want to actually talk a little bit about that, because one of the things that was kind of an inside joke for us was the fact that the Queen was just so tiny. She was so small, and we kind of made the joke about, was she like a dwarf queen? Was she maybe like an elf queen? No disrespect to the actress that plays that.
I think we said elf.
Well, I kind of made the suggestion maybe it was a dwarf queen too.
Elf or halfling.
Oh, okay, halfling. Thank you.
Those are more D&D PC terms.
Well, I mean, you play kind of like a D&D type deal every Wednesday. Definitely check that out, you guys. Cheap plug. But...
Cheap plug. But yeah, no, the funny thing about that, Nate, is I remember I said something to you. I was like, wow, isn't she really small? And I remember you were like, I just see a queen. Because you got knighted, knighted by her, and you bent, you took a knee to get knighted, and and it's like you didn't even notice how tiny she was. And so when she walked by, you're like, I don't notice it. I just see a queen. And then when she went out in the show, you were like, oh wow, she is tiny. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't trying to be rude. I was just impressed. I was like, she's so little. She's an elf or a halfling queen.
Oh, man. It's another one of those situations where I see things differently. I mean, we already had this conversation when we talked about the Zendaya Zac Efron deal during The Greatest Showman. But yeah, it was just one of those situations where maybe I was just trying to give her due respect, but then, yeah, as soon as the show went on, I do recall saying to you, yeah, she's really, really small compared to everybody else. And, yeah, honestly, I think maybe, again, it was the royalty that kind of blinded me, and then when the show happened, it's like, huh, now that you mention it. but
yeah, I thought it was so funny that you didn't notice, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, she is small. I was like, I told you.
So, one thing that we will say was kind of a negative of the show. I mean, there's more positives than negatives about this, and this is kind of maybe like a nitpick deal when it comes down to it. But there were points during the show, whether it was before the show even started or even during the show, there were some parts where we could not understand what they were saying, and they were all mic'd up. And to me, as an actor or theater actor, especially one who recently just got back into doing performances, I understand the importance of having, clarification and being heard, crystal clear. And there was just points during this deal when they were just either rushing their lines or they were sounds like they were just mumbling, and I'm just kind of thinking, what exactly are they saying? What? It was just one of those things where, you could, sometimes it's like, okay, I understand what they're saying. Yeah, they want us to cheer. But I think even during, the knighting deal, we could kind of hear what they were saying, but then there were other times where it was just like, road, like, what?
Yeah, I had no idea. I heard, one part, I did hear, I betrothed this, I betrothed that, and then I was like, I don't know what they're saying. I mean, we got it on video, so maybe we could, depict what the dialect was, but, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. That could be something that, I know that they do a lot of shows, though, so they do, at least 2 or 3 shows a night. I almost think every day of the week, almost. So, that would suck. And I think they just, you could tell they could get maybe tired, but the 7 o'clock show that we did, I think is their biggest show usually. So yeah, I think they could slow it down. I do want to say the Master of Ceremonies, though, I think he was somebody that I could always understand, and he was definitely loud and very enunciated well.
I think he kind of had to be, because there were points during when he was speaking, he was trying to get the crowd, energized, and he would just either, berate them or basically just say, well, come on, I know you can do better than that. Come on, you guys are a bunch of wussies or something like that. And he would get the crowd more and more excited for it. So I definitely do agree with you on that sentiment. So let's get into talking about the actual show. So for us, we got served a huge, I want to say it was maybe a 6-course meal. And one of the things that we kind of noticed right off the bat is that they don't have silverware, so we're going to have to use our fingers for this. To which I'm sure a lot of people are just like, oh no, this sucks. For me, I'm just like, I can deal with it. It's whatever. Food was just absolutely spectacular. And I love how they tried to, basically incorporate that, oh, this was a part of, this is a part of a dragon. This was, I think they had a quote-unquote tomato soup, which was the blood of a dragon, and then they had, I think it was a scales of a dragon, tail of a dragon, the wings of a dragon, stuff like that. They kept on saying that, and in front of me, I'm just like, okay, that's fine. But I'm thinking to you, I'm just looking at this I'm not really convinced that this is part of a dragon. It's not one of those things where I'm going to be thinking oh yeah, I could totally buy this is a wing of a dragon. It's like, no, this is a chicken. No, this is tomato soup. No, this is garlic bread. I get what they're trying to do, and I respect everything that Yeah, but it's still one of those things where it's just like, I'm kind of not convinced that this is part of a dragon. But you know something? Part of the nostalgia, it's fine. I'm not going to full on, go on a rant about it. It's one of those things where it's like, it's fine. I get what they were basically trying to do. But the meal itself was just absolutely delicious. Not one of those things where I'm going to complain about that at all. The chicken was not undercooked. It was cooked right. The corn was great. The soup was great. And the dessert was absolutely spectacular, just absolutely great. And plus, we got a couple of drinks in, which were just absolutely divine. Holy cow! I love the executioner right now, to the point where it's like, yeah, I kind of want to make my own. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, I absolutely thought the food itself, grade A, absolutely, positively delicious. Definitely something that was a highlight of the show.
I totally agree. It was a lot of food. It was good, and I mean, I think I was done by the time dessert. I mean, I was done pretty early, but I was like, you know what, this is good, but I didn't need all that food. But I think that's good that they supply that for people with bigger appetites and everything. But yeah, no, it was definitely delicious, and I think it was a good distraction at the beginning too, when they're kind of first starting off slow before the knights are doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I also found out a very interesting fact that throughout the almost 3 years that we know each other, I never knew that you were not big on corn, because that was one of those situations where I was like, oh, you're not gonna eat that? Okay, I'll just munch away at it. But you tell me, oh, I don't like corn. In the back of my head, I'm just like, huh, how is it that I never knew this for so long?
Yeah, I do eat corn. I just don't like corn on the cob because it hurts my teeth.
Oh, so, yeah, that's right.
It just gets stuck in my teeth, and then, especially out at dinner or something, I'm like, no, I don't do this. I don't play this game. Get it away from me.
She's got to keep that perfect smile, ladies and gentlemen.
I gotta try.
All right, so now we get into the actual show itself. They basically start off by... they start with a lot of the lights, and they also have sections to where we have which country we represent, which knight is going to represent us. We had the red and yellow knight, and I will say this: I have a lot of positive things to say about the gentleman that played this character, but I'll talk about that in just a bit. So it was divided up into 6 different countries. They had a green knight, they had a red knight, a black and white knight, the red and yellow knight, the blue knight, and then did I mention red? I'm trying to think if I missed anything. Yellow knight. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, you forgot him.
Trust me, I will tell you this. There's the photograph that I had with him. I showed it to my parents, and my mom was just like, "Man, he just seems so angry." It's like, well, that's kind of what he's supposed to be. But yeah, they had it divided up into 6 different deals. It was absolutely great to see these guys, and their horses. Before we get into the actual, games, they had showcased a couple of things, and one of the things was the horses, which we will say this, that there were points where some of the horses seemed like they were just, into it. They were great, but there were just some points where we saw the horses getting a little bit too nervous. I think we saw at one point one horse actually taking a crap right in the middle of the arena, and we saw lights go out. Here comes this guy, has to sweep up the poo. Just absolutely, I think that was absolutely hilarious. And there was also a point where one of the horses actually hit part of a wall, to which we were just like, oh boy, hopefully the horse is okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that was kind of one of the few moments where you definitely could see the horses were kind of getting a little nervous with all the lights, the sound, everything like that. They're not all used to all this kind of stuff. Then we get some other horses that were trick horses. There were some that were able to stand up on 2 hind legs, and there were some that were able to do this little gallop deal. One that were able to do a leap in the air. Really cool stuff. And then we got to see a falcon fly around the arena, which was absolutely beautiful. It was absolutely amazing. One of those moments where I'm just like, okay, this falcon is absolutely beautiful, but at the same time, I'm just going to hide in my seat because I'm pretty sure this thing could probably, just grab my head and try to eat me. But maybe that's just a little paranoia. Someone's coming to get me. For some people that get that reference. But no, like, all the pre-show stuff was just absolutely great. I thought it was absolutely just tremendous how they showcased, the horses. They showcased a lot of the different animals. It was just a really great warm-up of things to come.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the horse shows, the pretty horses. I was like, oh, they're like unicorns. Falcon was really cool. And I mean, that's kind of, when you work with animals, it's always really nervous for me. I'm always nervous for the performers because I'm like, the animals, they're professional as they can be, but they're also animals. So you really don't know how they're feeling and what they want to do the day of. So you're like, ooh. And yeah, the Green Knight's horse was not having it at some points. And I was just very nervous because it ran into a wall pretty hard. And I was like, ooh, I'm surprised, like, nothing happened to either one of them. Like, the Knight was lucky the horse took the brunt of it. If his leg did, that would have hurt.
No kidding. Jeez Louise. You mentioned unicorns. Now I kind of want to say this. I think there was one point where there's this one horse that was just so properly groomed and so properly taken care of that I literally said to you, I'm legit convinced that this is a unicorn. They just took the horn off because that's the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen as far as a horse goes. It just was I think it was like a purely white horse, and the mane was just looked absolutely incredibly soft. It's just one of those things where you see out of a, what's it, an Icebreakers commercial. There we go. That it just looked that beautiful. I see you giving me the look of like, what?
I think it's an interesting Icebreakers commercial. I was like, huh? But I definitely said that was one of my favorite horses. So yeah, I agree with you.
So we get into the show itself. I've said that already like 3 times already. But I'm talking about like the actual show where we get the fighting and the games and stuff like that. One of the first things that we saw them do is that they actually had some jousts, and they basically had to retrieve these rings, 2 in a row, which honestly I saw thanks to Game Grumps. Shout out to Aaron and Daniel for going to Medieval Times in Los Angeles. Just one of those things where it gave me a preview of it, but also got the chance to see that live, and it's like, oh man, that's really cool to see that, and I know what this is all about. Then we see, I think it was another moment where they had to basically take a joust and hit like even a smaller ring, to which some of these nights we were looking at, it's like, oh, this is cool, and then there was a couple where we're just like, oh, you missed, oh, you knocked it off, oh, and I have never been to one of these tourneys, so I really didn't know what would happen with these kind of games, whether, this is kind of like the precursor to be like, okay, so we're showcasing this person, okay, this person's moving on, this person's won this, or if somebody missed or something like that, it's like, oh, you're eliminated. I thought to myself, yep, Green Knight is gone, but it's like, nope, later on he shows up again. It's like, oh, okay, so this is kind of like, I guess, a precursor to what's to come, maybe? It
was definitely weird with that. We didn't understand who was out, who was in. But what we did understand is basically they first play like 3 or 4 types of games, and then if the knight is considered a winner, they get to throw flowers out to their fans.
Let's talk about that. Oh boy. So one of the things that I will definitely joke about my co-host about is that during this entire event, somebody got a boyfriend, because there were so many times, at least 2 or 3 times, where this knight threw flowers exclusively to you, and that happened on 2 separate occasions, so you cannot tell me that it's just a coincidence. So
yeah, that was funny. I was like, ooh, he's not supposed to do that.
but
we were trying to get our new friends that I made with the couple sitting next to me. I was trying to get them a flower after I got a flower.
No, I do recall that. Yeah, I do recall that. We basically got the flower, and then he was coming around again, and instead of us, like cheering, we were just like, yeah, and literally we're just like pointing at the couple down there, And
Yes.
it's just one of those situations where it's like, yep, you got another flower, but you gave it to the other person. It's cool.
Exactly. I was going to give it to her regardless, and I think he was trying to throw it to her, and the flower broke off and just whipped at me. But who knows? I was like, oh, like, here's your flower.
I think, wasn't that the flower that he said that he was trying to, like, ricochet into, like, the cup or something like that?
I don't know what he was saying. He was saying a lot of stuff that I was just like, sure, man. It's good. I grabbed it, I gave it to her, it was all good.
So, I will say this. I did say that I wanted to talk about our night. I loved this guy's performance when it came down to just, like the interacting with the people, getting the chance to just seem like he's having a great time doing the show. I mean, there were very few moments where I saw him, breaking a smile, which I thought to myself, okay, this is cool. We got the guy who literally loves this job, who literally loves doing these performances. We do see a lot of the other guys, maybe they were just kind of yelling like, oh, you gotta yell, something like that. This was one of those guys where it's like, hey, come on, proclaim your, loyalty to this country and blah, 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 blah. But, he's still keeping a smile on. And, he would definitely, kind of point out, or he will definitely kind of be that guy to be like, yeah, thank you for your support, dude. Thank you for your support. I loved that. I love the fact that there are people that still, interact with the crowd and basically say like, yes, we appreciate you. We love the fact that you have just an absolutely fun time, being here at the show. And I think that definitely it shows that, for anybody that was sitting next to me, definitely could tell that I was one of those people that was just like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. And with the experience of my, throat being to so many wrestling events, I will say this, that I think it was only like a third of the way gone, not a full-on deal like an actual wrestling event. So there was no way that I was going to just blow it out completely. But it was still one of those things where it's like, yep, I'm going to keep screaming for it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely a fun time. But yeah, our guy, and we got the chance to even talk to him after the show. Really, really nice guy. Just absolutely one of those people I was just like, you know what? No matter the results, we got probably the best night of the entire show. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, our night was definitely a guy that was having a good time. I did see him like have words with a few of the other audience members too. I thought that was funny. Like, I think the green section, which is technically on our side, but just a different night, was like giving him some hecklage, and I saw him yell at them. And I was like, he's like, I'm on your side. And so I just thought it was funny. I think that the Red and Yellow Knight at Medieval Times Schaumburg definitely enjoys what he does. So, and that's what you kind of want out of somebody who's doing a performance act like this, is somebody who enjoys what they're doing and does it with all of their heart. So he did a really good job. I enjoyed him.
So then we get into the fighting section, which a lot of people were definitely looking forward to seeing, especially myself. I was kind of curious to see how this all goes down. Basically, how they did it was that they have two men joust against each other. Well, okay, first of all, they basically say that, okay, well, this person is going to pick, who he's going to fight, and then this person is picking who he's going to fight, and then the final two are basically wrapping it up. And, I think, I'm not even going to go into, like, the color details because that's just going to take way too long to remember. But this person picked one person, and they had another guy pick another guy, and then blah, blah, blah. It started off with a jousting deal, and it always started kind of the same way, where the first joust, it was just boom, they hit the shields, their joust spears just kind of disintegrates, almost like a Thanos snap. And then they go into like the second bet, and that's where we kind of see, okay, this person's going to have the advantage because they usually fall off the horse. And when they have that advantage, basically the person who won that deal gets to kind of decide, what weapon they get to use. And also, there's a point where some of these knights actually get the chance to spear them again with the joust, and the only protection the guy on the ground has is a shield. But that was still a cool moment just to see that. And just like some of these moments where you see that, there are some points where I was just kind of like, ooh. I mean, I understand they got a shield to do that, but that's still got to do like some wear and tear on the arm, though, because you're going at each other with just high voltage velocity on a horse. which can probably go maybe like 35 at most. But I'm sure this one is probably maybe like, I don't even know how fast these horses were going. I'm not.
They weren't going too fast. They were maybe going 15.
Maybe, but still,
they really weren't running.
But still, even at that velocity, it still kind of is one of those things where it's like, ooh, that's still gonna do some wear and tear, especially if you hit the wrong spot. If you miss the shield and maybe hit the arm or something like that, that's gonna sting. But yeah, basically after that, then we get into the weapons where they had. I'm trying to remember some of these. They had like a giant axe. They had they had the sword fightings and everything like that. They eliminated people, one by one by one. I do have a video on my Facebook deal where I basically show how our knight does for this one. I remember he faced off against the black and white knights, and we were trying so hard to just cheer for the guy. We're thinking like, oh gosh, we already had, I think it was the Green Knight actually got eliminated, to which I'm thinking to myself, okay, once each side has a victor, so this is kind of like the deciding factor, who's going to win, this one. And of course, me being passionate at all when it comes to competition, definitely was cheering my heart out when it came to the Red and Yellow Knight. And the Red and Yellow Knight, he lost, unfortunately, which was kind of a downer for me. I was like, man, I thought he was doing so good. I honestly thought that we were going to see that, but there just comes a moment where I think he either lost his sword or he got knocked down. Black and White Knight gets him right in the ribs and then just strikes him down. It's like, oh man, so close. We were so close, and you just never know who's going to come out victorious. It's not like wrestling where you can just kind of predict, oh, this person's going to win, oh, this person's going to win. No, you're literally watching this and you're just thinking, okay, this guy's got the advantage. Oh no, here comes the change of pace. Maybe it's going to be different. And there's always a different outcome to that. So I guarantee you, they probably have like this deal where maybe they draw straws, or they have like a highest number wins this deal, or something like that. Who knows at this point? But it's one of those situations where I guarantee you, it's never the same thing. I guarantee you, the victor, who was eventually the Blue Knight. He probably doesn't win all the time. We just probably picked the wrong night to go for red and yellow. But, a lot of action during this deal, seeing a lot of these weapons being utilized is just absolutely phenomenal. Then we get into the sword fights, which, honestly, as a kid, I'm just like... the kid inside of me is just like, oh, yeah, I get to see something that is out of a movie or something like that. And, these swords are just, clashing really hard to the point where you start seeing sparks coming out of these swords, which added so much to the quote-unquote impact that these swords were probably making. And there's a part of me that wonders, was this maybe something that happened during the medieval times, the actual medieval times, or was this just one of those things where they just did it for the show and it makes it look a lot more prettier? Either way, it was a cool, nice little deal. And, like I said, the tournament was won by the Blue Knights, not at all disappointed. It was a really good showcase of a lot of these guys. I think that there were some points where we were just confused, like, okay, what's going on with this deal? We saw this person go, we see this person eliminated, this person's gone, this person's gone, this person's gone. And then just this random knight comes out. Oh yeah, it was the Yellow Knight. He just randomly came out. He already won one deal, and he's just going to be coming out and just think like, oh, I'm going to beat up the Green Knight. It's like, the guy lost 2 times. What more do you need to prove? You need him to...
Right.
The Green Knight has had enough.
Yeah, the poor Green Knight. we were like, oh no, he's down again. No. But in general, I just wanted to comment on like you said, like the sword fighting. Obviously, it's a dance, it's a choreographed fight. But they did a really good job, and you could tell like they know what move is supposed to come next, but they're dealing with real like metal objects, heavy metal objects that do spark because they're real metal. So that wasn't like a show effect. That's just because metal on metal sparks. And that's just another thing that medieval times is known for, is that they are attempting to make it as realistic as possible by having these heavy, big weapons. Like they had, I don't know the names of these weapons, but they had they've had maces, they had axes, they had the long axes. I know that's called something else. They had spears. Like, they had a bunch of different weapons that the guys got to pick from and got to use and show that they could use, and especially like the mace, which is, a ball on chain type of weapon that they spin around. They had to use just the shield to hit it, and it was loud. It was a very loud, spectacular thing. So it's cool to see somebody, or to see two people do that and do their stunting by rolling out and flipping off if they could, like the horses. So it's definitely a very athletic show if people are looking to do something, or looking to see something that does do some sportage and cool theatrical fights with real weapons. That was something that was enjoyable.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then post-show, we got the chance to take some photographs with the knights, as well as the king of ceremonies, a couple other actors, and as well as the queen. Definitely one of those things that was just absolutely a lot of fun to get a chance to talk to some of these people and just be like, hey, great job tonight. And they were even asking, did you enjoy the show? It's like, absolutely. This was one of those shows that I'm definitely looking forward to coming back to. It's just an absolutely great show to get a chance to enjoy. So anybody who gets a chance to definitely check out Medieval Times. It's just absolutely fun. I definitely will say it's a huge highlight for my year. And once we do our end of year review, stuff like that, it's definitely going to be probably within my top 5 favorite things from this year alone. Because, it's something different. Usually I talk very heavily about wrestling events, and this is one of those times where it's like, I get to do something that's nostalgic, get a chance to watch these guys, basically battle and do a fantastic job of creating a performance and creating something that is different from what we're used to with theaters. Because some of the theaters, they just have a stage, they have a background set, and sometimes, some of these deals will have a dance choreographed or some kind of action deal that goes on here. But this is literally one of those things where it's like, we got this set up. We don't need crazy theatrics. We got some beautiful lighting sets. But we have, this action that's very much, as you said, choreographed, but it's done so well to the point that there's even points where you just kind of forget the fact that it is choreographed. It's like they've moved so well together. It's so smooth. It's not one of those things where you would see somebody, messing up and be like, oh, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. It's one of those things where it's like, well, this is probably part of the show. He probably lost his sword because he's probably going to lose or something like that. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, he lost his sword. That means he probably screwed up. It's like, no, this is probably legit what was supposed to happen. So overall, I would say that this experience is definitely A+ quality. Definitely one of those things that I absolutely enjoyed. We'll definitely get a chance to do again. I'm definitely glad that I got the chance to enjoy it with my lovely co-host, who seemed like she definitely had just as much fun a time as I did.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good time. I thought it was funny. The Red and Yellow Knight was trying to tell me the way he markets it at conventions. He's like, yeah, when I market it to guys, I always tell them that they come to see the long hair and the big steeds, and we're on steeds, and then we end up dying. Until then, the girl, she's all fired up, and she gets to go home with you. And I was like, oh, that's how you market this? It was quite hilarious. And I said, wow, good marketing strategy, sir. And he was like, I know. And he was very proud of himself. And I thought it was hilarious because as a marketer myself, I'm like, well, I guess some guys probably buy that. So good job. But no, it was a good show. It's fun. I know, as somebody who grew up in the area, it's a show that is super kid-friendly, and I do think kids enjoy it a lot even more because they believe it, to where we enjoy it for the theater aspect. But yeah, kids really believe it, and kids get a kick out of it because they get to be princess. Whoever wins gets to crown a princess, and it's good fun for them. So I would say if you're going as an adult, just know that it is a theater performance, and if you're not going to be devoted to being a part of the theatrical performance, don't go. It's more fun to be into it. Me and Nate were into it the whole time, like trying to speak in their language and stuff, and really cheering a lot. But you could tell that some people were like, oh, are we supposed to scream at these people? And you're like, yeah. It's supposed to be a sporting event. Boo, we hate you, boo, oh, another guy. And it's more fun that way. So I think as long as you know what you're getting into, that Medieval Times is a great date night, a great fun event to go out with your buds or girls. Like, it's good. It's a fun time.
Yeah, I will also say this, that one thing I definitely do appreciate with some of the actors was that some of them did do, like a regular handshake, but then there were like a couple that actually did like the grabbing arm kind of handshake deal. Which
I saw that with you. I was like, oh, that's cute.
It's one of those things that I think I really want to do that more. I want to bring that more because, people can do a simple handshake. I mean, business-wise, I'll have to do a regular handshake, but if it's somebody else, it'd be like, no, we're doing the arm deal because it's awesome. It shows, it shows like authority and blah, blah, that kind of deal. But that's just me in a nutshell. So, like I said, we got the chance to do Medieval Times. Grade A deal. Nice little deal to celebrate the birthday month, as I've been calling it. I also got a Dragon's Dagger, which literally is one of the coolest things I have in my room right now. I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's the coolest thing because I have a couple belts that still have that prestige. But it's still one of those things I look at and I think to myself, oh, that's so cool. I even remember going back to the hotel room and think to myself, is this really like a legit dagger? Oh, it is. Okay, and it's a hunting knife, so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I don't really hunt, but I guess it's one of those things I'll have it ready. And plus, it's a nice little weapon to have in case the zombie apocalypse happens. I can just use that for a while until it gets dulls out. Then it's just a nice thing to have for decoration. But honestly, it's, again, one of those events that is a huge highlight. Hopefully you guys get a chance to do it. We cannot plug it enough. Definitely, if you have one in your area, definitely check them out on medievaltimes.com. Definitely look to see if there's one in your area. Check out the show times and enjoy the nostalgia, as we like to call it. Whether you're a theater goer, whether you just want to do something for the kids, whether it's developing for the birthday party. One of the things I definitely did enjoy, in fact, was that they did do this whole entire announcement spiel where they're just like, oh, this person's celebrating a birthday, this one's celebrating an anniversary. We got lucky because we had one couple that was celebrating their recent engagement, so that was pretty awesome. And then there were just some that were just like, we're here just for fun. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, that's kind of funny. That's kind of one of those things where they're just like, they're here because it's a Monday, because it's a Saturday, because it's a weekend, a family get-together, stuff like that. There's just that random, just for fun. It's like, okay, I think that a lot of people probably would have done that, but there's just that one person that's just like, we're doing this for fun. It's like, okay, I get that. Kind of cheesy, but at the same time, it's a cheesiness that I can appreciate.
Yeah, no, I thought that was cute that they announced people's stuff.
But, alright guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this short edition of the Game Changer podcast. This was, like I said, a lot of fun to do. Definitely one of those things I want to do again. I know I'm going to try and rope in a couple of friends to be like, oh, we should do this, it's going to be an awesome time. So hopefully I can get more people to come down to Schaumburg to check this out, you guys. It's absolutely beautiful, absolutely great. And it's one of those things that if you want an unforgettable experience, definitely check it out. So, for VictoriBelle, I've been NateFNGreat. Be sure to check us out on our Facebook fan pages, like I've said before. Give it a like, give it a comment, but be nice about them. Check me out on Twitter at RealFNGame. Be sure to give us a nice little shout out on so many different platforms on the podcasting deal, including Spreaker.com, as well as Spotify, iHeartRadio, and so much more, you guys. We honestly, going in blind next week, we'll definitely figure out something for next week, but so much still to go on through the rest of the month, you guys. For me, I have All Out in just a couple of weeks, which is going to be an absolutely fantastic time. On Tuesday, I will have an interview with the Movie Man podcast, so definitely check that out. It's going to be a very, very fun deal. It's about, I basically said it before, I'll say it again, it's about three guys, three movie geeks / critics just having time of their lives. So definitely check that out, you guys, and definitely check out their Facebook fan page. Honestly, it's one of those situations where it's like I'm kind of curious to see what we're going to be doing, because I will be doing an interview segment, but we'll also be talking a bit about movies and stuff like that. So definitely check that out. That's all the plugs I got. Do you have anything to plug, Miss Victory Bell?
Yeah, I actually do. So I was invited to go to Wizard World. As much as I haven't been going to conventions, I do have a short movie that, the Game Changer podcast is helping to produce and sponsor, so I'm excited about that. Just a little bit about the short. It's going to feature myself, Project X Amazon, and Kirsten Anderson in a stunt battle of She-Hulks. So there's going to be a lot of body paint, a lot of really cool action, and just a little bit of drama. So we're going to be at Chicago Wizard World, which is not this upcoming weekend, but next weekend. So if I could get those dates up, that would probably be a smart thing to do. That's going to be the 22nd through the 25th of August. We will probably only be there on the weekend just because the Thursday and Friday I have work. I'm not about to skip work for a convention. I can't do that. So, yeah, we'll probably be there promoting our short that the Game Changer is also a sponsor of. So I'm very excited, and more to come. But this is the first time that I'm actually announcing it on here because, we film really soon, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I will say this, and one of the things that my co-host definitely said, or I kind of took away from what this short has definitely done for her, is that basically they also had some training from a good friend of ours, the one and only Rob Fury. Check him out because his stuff is really awesome. But one of the things that they basically have to do is there's a lot of physicality to it, and Rob definitely, with his professional wrestling training, definitely showcased and definitely helped them kind of handle a lot of these stunts and stuff like that. And I think one of the things that that I got out of this conversation when we were having it after medieval times was that where basically she says, it's not a direct quote, but it's basically a situation where it was like, I feel like that once I could take a body slam, I can do just about anything.
Yes, and I was body slammed and hip tossed just multiple times. I feel like I did it 20 to 25 times throughout that weekend. And so you had me after 2 rehearsals, and I was like, I'm sorry, Nate, I am exhausted. My body is in pain. But new respect for wrestlers, when you do the moves that they're doing, and that they also do it on, with no pads, no anything. This stuff is real, and it hurts sometimes. You get the wind knocked out of you. A lot of bad stuff can happen in that, but I'm really excited to perform some of these moves on camera and really get to use some movie magic to make them look even more spectacular. So we're excited. It's a budgeted film, but it's going to be great. We don't have obviously Marvel's budget, but we're going to do what we can and collaborate with a lot of different people. So yeah, it's fun. We're excited, and we're hoping that everybody who sponsored it is going to be, being able to get a copy or at least be able to promote it on their page. I know we'll probably have a discussion about it once it's out. And yeah, it's basically a She-Hulk short that's going to be a little dramatic, but all in all, going to showcase some good fighting between women. 3 separate women.
What more do you really need, ladies and gentlemen? So for Victory Bell, I've been NateFNGreat. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.